Nairobi, 90.7 kule Mombasa, kule kwenye social media platforms, that is on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. You get us at Radio Gen KE. If you also want to follow us online, please do so at rgk.co.ke. Remember, Radio Generation is the hub of hard truth and bold insight. Like everything that you're getting here, just know that it is the truth. Yes, and only the truth. So if this week, in case you missed any news, yes, this is the place to be. Sometimes you might have listened to several news items, but maybe you didn't get them into details. So here we are going to break every news item. We are going to break it down and, of course, give you a better understanding of what is happening in our country and even internationally. Yes, locally, nationally, and internationally, in matters politics, in matters governance, in matters education, health, and everything. Talk of everything that makes news. Here you're going to get it. And my name is Tricia Wayua. If you like it, you can call me Tricia Wayua, because I know I have several people know me by Tricia. Yeah, so you're just right. I am Tricia Wayua. And today, of course, I'm joined by my two colleagues that we were with last time. Yes. One is Alfred. He's already here. And the other one is Kidi, who is still on his way, becoming. So be ready. Stay ready for this, because it's going to be big. Good afternoon. Good evening. Sorry. Kushafika usiku kumbe.
Kushafika usiku.
Yes.
Siku imeisha. Good evening. How are you?
I'm good.
How was your week?
Just awesome.
Great.
How about you?
My week was very fast. No sooner had it started than it ended.
Yes, I've seen you doing quite a lot of projects outside there, and majorly, of course, projects that are meant to inform decision making, shaping of opinions, especially for the young people. Maybe you can tell us a bit of what you've been doing in the course of the week.
Yes, we have to keep the conversations going in various platforms. And this week we had the Youth Devolution Festival in Kajiado County. This an event organized by young people, Contact Care, and some of my friends came together with this idea just to bring youth together for 3 days to discuss matters, devolution, how the devolved system of government and the opportunities that come with it, the challenges that come with it. And we were happy to be hosted by Governor Olelenku. We had PS for youth, the young man, I've forgotten his name, also came by, PS Public Service, just to share the number of opportunities that the government is offering young people, and young people asking hard questions from now after NYS, after Nyota program, after all these programs.
What next?
What next? Yes, because it now looks like a cycle of just churning out young people through the same process. Then after that, you wait for 5 years before you get before somebody retires, so that you get an opportunity. So we have to keep the conversations going. The moment we stop talking, that is now when you'll see us on the streets. But when we talk, I think people listen.
Well, speaking of youth empowerment, I think the president, the launch of the Nyota project for the youth empowerment and so forth, he did do that this week, and I hear people really complaining of these projects, saying that it's just a project that is not going to yield to anything.
Not really. Every government project should be taken with the seriousness that it deserves. The only challenge I am seeing is that why not for the international institution, Bretton Woods institutions, just like World Bank, maybe we would not have the serious programs like Nyota, the one that's being funded by World Bank. So I want to urge every young person that these opportunities are your opportunities. The moment you don't apply, the moment you don't take them serious, that is where somebody, a cartel or a cabal, takes advantage and tries to find funny ways of taking away this money from those accounts to their accounts to offshore. So we must participate in whichever program that the government is offering us, and also demand more. And some of these programs, what we are saying is that they don't really have to be funded by international organizations. We have Kenyan youth paying taxes through VAT, through pay as you earn, through other means such as levies. Why can these programs be continuous even when the funding regime of World Bank or IMF has ended? So we want more investment in the young people from the government, in as much as we would appreciate any program that comes from the international community that supports young people.
Okay, there is something that you have mentioned about saying that they have to wait for 5 years for somebody to retire from the government so that they can be able to get an employment opportunity. But I also tend to think that as young people, there are so many other alternatives that the young people can engage themselves in.
Yes, true. And we've seen a resilient population of young people. We having young people starting their own YouTube channels. We having them starting their own social media handles just to monetize their talent. But what you're saying is that the government is not doing enough to incentivize young people's innovation. Like when I was in the Youth Devolution Festival, we had different stands of young people coming up with solutions that speak to climate change, speak to empowering the young people, solving unemployment. But we're not seeing any tax rebates to startups that young people want to come up with. For example, just in case this studio belonged to a young person, he would still face the same tax regime that an older
that
guy
cuts across the other people.
Yes, and there are very many young people graduating from colleges and campuses, universities that have skills in media. They are doing very well in campus radio, campus TV, KU TV, Maseno, Must FM. But now when they get out, they have the skill, but they don't have any incentive to start their own channel, so that maybe one or two companies can spot locally and advertise with them so they get money. So the government should do more in incentivizing initiatives by young people. That is a push.
Well, there's sometimes back, I think last year, I was conversing with some young people, and they said one of the key things they feel the government is really missing is creativity in terms of looking for opportunities, especially for the young people. There's somebody who said that the government leaders there, a majority of them lack creativity. They're just approaching issues and matters from the same perspective they've been doing long time ago. So they were saying that it is high time now, when we get these people into leadership, they now need to be creative, like you have said, because we have so many skilled young people outside here and they do not have anything to do. Okay, yes, they have skills, yes, they have ideas, but now, are these ideas really supported? And they can only be supported by somebody who really understands what that really means.
Yes, I can't agree more, and that's why we need the average mean of Kenya, I'm told, is around 18 to 20 years old. But when you look at the average mean age of the Kenyan Parliament, the Kenyan Senate and National Assembly, we're having a lot of older folk. So they would prioritize more bills that do not really speak to the interest of the young people. Some of them still think the public service is too big to accommodate all of us. But look at it. Not all of us can find jobs from the government.
True.
For example, when you look at media stations, only KBC is owned by government. Yet we're having a lot of young journalists being churned out of colleges each and every year. So we must find alternative ways, and that is why I really appreciate there are spaces that are coming up, such as podcasts that are giving young people opportunity to have conversations, be it on social, political, economic, and there is an uprising of young people trying to think outside their box, to use whichever skill they have to actually monetize it.
Create employment and just have something to do. Yes, that's quite important. Let's hear what the president said when he was launching the Nyota Empowerment Program.
Result of us being deliberate about doing something about employment, empowerment, and engagement with young people. We have made a deliberate program, unlike before, to look out for opportunities for us to place young people in places where they can either get experience, they can get training, they can get on-job experience as we are talking.
So the interventions, we are targeting on improving youth employability, expanding employment opportunities, supporting youth saving, strengthening youth employment system, capacity and project management. We are enhancing youth entrepreneurs, access to market through digital, AGPO and EGP training, and then provision of e-commerce platform to ensure sustainability and scalability.
Quite important.
Yes.
Yeah, quite important. And I think there is also something that was highlighted sometimes back. I think in the one of our shows, in the morning shows, that before some years back, some leaders really envisioned that there will come a time that there will be some youth badge in our country. And that is what we are witnessing right now. So now the questions that we have is that did the government really put this into consideration? Like, you know that some years coming, we shall be having a lot of young people. And I think that is the reason why they were talking about a Vision 2030.
Yes, I think at some point we missed a leadership or a guide. You see, when in 2002 I was very young when President Kibaki came in and said, let us have free primary education. And he served this country for 10 years. And after 10 years, we needed somebody who could pick up this that knowledge vision, yes, and skill that somebody has finished class 8, somebody has finished Form 4. I remember President Uhuru also made secondary education quite affordable, and is being picked up by President Ruto. What we miss is the connection. We were talking about 100% transition, and now after somebody is done with 844, what are we going to do with this person? When the young people went to the streets last year in June, we were seeing a lot of young people who looked like they don't have anything meaningful they're doing, but the kind of English they're speaking and the kind of knowledge they have about the finance bill was quite amazing.
Quite big.
Yes, that is as a result of education. It means that, and I've had the privilege of interacting with Africans outside Kenya, and when you compare the amount or the level of education and the level of access to information that the Kenyan youth has as compared to other African countries, you'll find that the Kenyan youth is more empowered, more educated. So we really need that transition, and that is why we are seeing a lot of young people are almost giving up with this country, and everybody is looking to go outside, to go to UAE, to go to Dubai, to go to United States, or to go to Germany, just to find something to do. We're having a lot of nurses we are training with government money, but at the end of the day, these nurses are going to earn their money in other economies, and we may not really know if they are bringing back that money to Kenya. That means we are using government money to train, yet the government at the end of the day does not benefit even from the skill. So we need to open up this country to an economic reform that is going to enable young people get something meaningful to do outside government. The private sector needs to more empowerment to actually absorb young people. You can imagine if there was no Safaricom, which is a private company, that means
how many people will be outside here without employment?
Starting from the young man who is going to be given 50,000 by Nyota and he decides, I'm going to open an M-Pesa shop in Busia. Yes, it means when we empower the private sector is going to, we are really empowering the population to have even the purchasing power, and the economy will do better.
But last year, sometimes back, I was looking at the companies that closed down, that have really closed down during this administration, during last time's administration, and I've seen so many companies have been closing down, by the way, especially in our country. Of course, we will not ignore the fact that the country was politically unstable. We cannot ignore the fact that there were a lot of inconveniences in terms of doing business, and also the taxation, the tax system that we have in our country, making people close down businesses and leaving. And these are the people that we are really looking forward to ensure that they create employment. They offer these opportunities to the young people. So personally, I feel that the government has a responsibility to sit back, evaluate, look at where are we going wrong in terms of making the country attractive for investment, private investments.
Yes, true. And that's all the factors you said. One thing you've not mentioned is in 2020 COVID happened, and the economies, even the world economies, are trying to find their stability in terms of the country's economy. And when you combine now with the corruption we're witnessing in the country, I think that weighs the country down more. So it means that we really need to be keen on the policies and their kind of accountability of the resources we have. I believe that this country has more that everyone can have his own share and go home well and good. It's only that some people may want to be to have more than others. Others pick up Kenyan taxpayer money and go and buy properties outside this country. I think that does a lot of disservice to this country. And as we've witnessed, I think in the last regime, Uhuru's regime, we witnessed a lot of startups which had started to come up. I don't know the reason why they went off or they closed down, but a lot of startups that were employing young people, e-commerce, we are seeing less of Jumia these days. We are seeing less of Africa Sokoni.
Mm-hmm. But of course, it's the same reasons that we are saying here. You must make doing business in our country attractive to investors. If anything, investors have to come to our country, then you must make the environment, the business environment, quite attractive.
Yes, true. And it means that when they run away from this country, they are going somewhere to invest. I don't know where, but we really need to make the business environment conducive even for our own citizens to invest. Somebody, like right now, we are having, I had the PS, I think, mentioning something about AGPO. But when you talk about young entrepreneurs who are doing tenders in counties and in national government, some of them, they're being owed by the bank, pending bills. So right now, if you're a young person, maybe you've been outside the country and you've saved your 2 million, and somebody wants to give you a tender to supply something in a government institution, you'll think twice before investing. You can't take a loan to go and do a government tender. So
it's quite unfortunate,
yes.
Because actually nowadays you realize young people, because they do not have those financial muscles. You see, the government has made tendering in the institution quite hard, especially when it comes to payment. Umefanya biashara, ulienda ukachukua mkopo kwenye benki. So umefanya biashara, you have finished your doing the tender. Then now comes to payment. Munasukumana na serikali, munasukumana na serikali. And especially ukiangalia katika county governments, that is where we have actually many most of the problems. We have them at the county levels. I've had friends who have done tenders for the counties, and they end up being poorer
exactly.
than they were before they were starting that business. Then you are like, you want to ask yourself, okay, so is are these counties, or is tendering for the government supposed to make you poor, or supposed to take you to another, elevate you in terms of your income, in terms of your financial status?
Exactly. That's the question that we keep, and unfortunately it even affects people who are not young. Somebody may be saying that you're speaking too much for young people, but even the older folks who were doing a lot of business with government, and in that case they were employers of young people. We've had companies close down, people being auctioned. Right now there are people who offered services using the old NHIF. The current CS says we must verify. I think it's 1 year down the line. I don't know how much it takes to verify documents. When a committee sits, maybe a whole day. So all these challenges come down to, for example, a hospital which was employing 15 nurses, young nurses who are under 35 years, and NHIF has not paid, SHA has not paid. Then the employer has to tell you have to tighten your belts, or and these have got to be paid.
It's quite unfortunate. Just the government has just to realize that we have young people. They are learned, they are skilled, and you have nothing else to do. You just have to look for opportunities for these young people. Well, I see us exporting labor, and especially the young people. So someone was asking, like, okay, when we export all our young men and women, they are the strongest. Tunabaki na these other advanced age groups. So what happens to our country? We need also young people in our country.
Yes, exactly.
So in as much as we have these programs of taking people outside the country, the government also needs to realize that we also need these young people back here in our country also.
True, and we cannot be taking young people to UAE to do manual jobs or to do nursing jobs in the UK or Germany when we are having a food shortage in the country. We have a lot of young people who, when agribusiness pays, they're able to say, instead of me living in Umoja in a bed sitter, let me go to Migori and farm sugarcane, because when I sell sugarcane and the sugar mills in Migori, Sony Sugar or Mumia Sugar is working, or Nzoia is working, I'll be able to plant sugarcane, sell sugarcane to these companies and get money. So we have a lot of opportunities in this country. It's only that converting now the opportunities into practice, I think that's where we have the missing link. And where we've had the opportunity, you can see, you can speak about equity. Just imagine how many young people are employed by Equity, by Safaricom, because somebody was just able to press on and find opportunities for Kenyans and young people. But
I also want to say something also about the young people also, especially because you touched matters agriculture, food production and so forth. Because you touched that, I also want to maybe give a challenge to the young people that unajua tumezoea sana white collar jobs. Tunataka kazi hizi za maofisi, tunataka hizi tupige picha nini. I think they can also change the narrative, can also change the perspective in terms of we can also do agriculture. But then as they change the narrative, also the government needs to make it conducive, because we are talking of a venture which really relies on nature, and sometimes we have seen rains not coming through. Yeah, we have seen, I do agriculture, and most of the time you realize umelima, you have invested. Then at the end of the day, unatoka mikono mitupu. So what are we talking about? We keep on saying, Mungala of the breakfast show keeps on saying that northern part of Kenya, we have a vast land, land there is massive. So he keeps on saying that. Why is it that the government cannot look at other they cannot just make those places go tengenezeni kule, what do you call them, maswala na dams, irrigation. Yeah, just make the place conducive for agriculture and so forth, so that we can be able to invest in matters agriculture, so that now the young people can change their minds. We can have those who can go do agriculture. We can have those who are going to the white collar jobs. We can have those self-employment in terms of just using your talents and so forth. So yes. I think it's quite fair. Well, matters education, a lot has really been happening. Yes. And especially with the university education. We saw last week but one, mgomo wa university lecturers. We have also seen we have seen the government trying to come to an agreement with the lecturers, but then we are yet to get a solution. Let's hear what the CS education had to say about this issue of Mugomo.
Under that CBA, they argue that there was an amount of 7.9 billion that was to be paid. However, SRC informs us that that amount of 7.9 billion has been paid to the extent of 7.2 billion, leaving a balance of 624 million. So there is a question of how much is outstanding between what the unions are asking for and what the government is saying is owed. So because of that, the teams went to court, and the court ordered that the strike be injected, and they go to a conciliator and have this amount verified, after which the settlement of it can be agreed on.
Comrades Power, Comrades Ria, Comrades Zaga Zaga. Yes, my name is Joseph Olo, the president of Technical University of Mombasa. It is with deep sorrow and sadness we would like to register our disappointments as comrades. We are not happy. Our parents have spent a lot of money to make sure that we are in school, but we are not doing what we are supposed to be doing. This strike is not only affecting us in terms of time, but is wasting our visions. It's wasting some students who are supposed to even graduate by December. And this thing is going to affect our academic calendar. We are supposed to do exams by December and start another semester in January. Some students are supposed to be proceeding to attachments, but January will come, we have not finished the classes, we have not done the exams. So what are we going to do? Other institutions will be going on with the attachments, but will be stranded. We are therefore calling upon the government of Kenya to listen to the lecturers. We don't want to know what they are going to do. Let them agree.
Those are comrades. Yeah, comrades have also spoken. Yeah, they okay. This strike is really affecting students.
Sure.
Big time. You know, do you remember that time? But I think that this was Corona, when people were not able to go to school. So we had to do crash programs for us to be able to come back to the normal schedule that we used to use. So right now, the young people in the universities have spoken. Like, this stalemate, these people really need to sit down and talk about it. So, and I hear CS saying that walisema kwamba wanataka 7.9 billion. Na wanasema nili nasema kwamba SRC wanasema kwamba they paid actually a bigger percentage, 7.2 a bigger percentage of this amount that is being owed. But then now lecturers wanasema tujaona kitu kama hicho. Where do you think the problem is?
I think the problem is honesty. I don't see a situation whereby a whole union can down their tools because of 600 million. I don't think that is the amount, although I don't have the facts, but when you look at it logically, that is not the amount that the government owes these lecturers. And Wasanga, the unionist, was very clear this week, and he said that the government is saying that it's going to pay this amount, but let us go back to class. But he reminded lecturers of the other strike last year, where he instructed the lecturers to go back to strike. Only after 1 week, again, he called on the strike. So I think we have a problem with leadership in Kenya. Whether the amount was paid or not, or whether it was 7.2 or we have a balance, I think it is just a matter of producing documents, and that can be produced within an hour.
Mm-hmm.
We had the same case with the Shah, I think in Kakamega, where the bishop came and said, Shah owes us this amount. The Prime Cabinet Secretary said, we have paid, even I can confirm from my phone. I think it is high time that we need to have serious conversations. If I was the head of public service or the president, I would call the CS here, SRC here, and Minister of Finance, because all these people are human beings and they are in Kenya, and
Yes.
we can verify.
So actually my question would be, what is preventing all this from sitting down and coming up with a solution? What is preventing them from doing that?
If it's a matter of sitting down, I think they already sat down. That's how they came up with the two CBS. It's just a matter of the government reaching out and saying, we acknowledge that we have not paid. But I don't think they can do it and they can be listened to in the current situation, because this is the same government that is doing a lot of empowerment programs across the country, calling people to State House, giving them 10,000 in case of teachers, 5,000 in case of other wananchi. So I don't think the CS Finance would really have the guts to face the union leaders and tell them that we don't have money as a government. So that is the problem. They're just trying to force the lecturers go back to class as they're looking for other ways to raise the money to pay.
Lakini swali ambayo ningependa kuuliza ni unasema kwamba this is same government ambayo inatoa pesa, mkienda mnapewa 10,000, mmepewa sijui 1000 ngapi. Sasa swali ambalo pengine sasa utabaki ukijiuliza ni, so does it mean that the government does not have money to pay what is allocated on the budgets, but it can have money to pay other things?
It's a matter of, at the end of the day, when you have money, it's a matter of priority. Same case as a human being. When you have 20,000, you can choose to buy a shoe or buy shopping in the house. I think the money is there, but the government is using the money diverting it into issues that I think that they should not be prioritized. I don't see a reason why a first year who has traveled all the way from Elgeyo Marakwet to University of Nairobi, I think it's now 1 month down the line, they have never seen a professor. And I can imagine what these young people are doing all over the country with the idleness.
With that free time, yes?
With that free time. So we are going even to create more problems by postponing paying these lecturers. So the government should really prioritize the spending in terms of, let us pay health, let us pay education, let us remit capitation to schools so that the system keeps on flowing. I think we can do without the State House meeting, we can do without the empowerment meetings, but we cannot do without health, we cannot do without education.
Wow. You know, me, I'm also a victim of those strikes. I think I was supposed to finish my defense this month so that I can be able to graduate in December. But right now, it's impossible.
Yes.
It was postponed, and we've not been told when we shall be doing the defenses.
And if you want to know that the system is not working, the other time we saw Honorable Mbadi's daughter graduating in the UK. If our system was really working, and if it was even at 80%, we would see most of these cabinet secretary children in UON, we would see them in KU. But the moment you see somebody's son is in the UK or is in some fancy private university around this country paying 500,000, 1 million for a course that you can get at your UON maybe at 250,000. That means they clearly know the system in University of Nairobi is not working. Yet they're the same people who are supposed to fix that system. So my thought has always been that for each and every government service that is being offered, I think the first clients should be government officials. If it's SHA,
but do you think that can...
if it's SHA, let us have CS Duale not having any other cover apart from the SHA cover. We should have Ogamba's children studying in Kenyan schools. If they're in primary, let them go to Nairobi Primary School or Moi Avenue Primary School. If they're in university, let them go to Maseno. Because why should you oversee universities when you don't have the same trust to take your kids in the same university?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I think we cannot force them to bring their children to the public schools. Just like, do you remember last month when we were talking about the SHA, the use of SHA, pushing government employees to start using SHA, civil servants, and you see, ulisikia ile kelele imekuwa.
But you see, the thing is, some of these problems we're experiencing because the government, especially the top government officials, are isolated from the current reality of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I would think if Duale today, because then human beings, they have needs. Sometimes they get ill, a cough or malaria. If he goes to Mbagathi and it does not find a doctor there, and it's the cousin or the mother or himself he has gone for medical attention, I think it would implore him to ask what is wrong with this system and how he can fix it. But you see, the moment where even the cover itself, and a SHA, maybe they say 2.5% or whatever, 6%, from the cabinet secretary, they remit, but they also have a special cover with a private insurance where they're able to fly to the UK or India for surgeries. I don't think that in that way would be able to fix the country in a more or faster way. I think if Ogamba's children could be going to University of Nairobi and every day he's waking up in the morning and he's seeing his children are there seated, I think that strike would be called off.
Well, I don't know whether maybe his children wanaenda katika shule za hapa Kenya, pengine wapo wapo katika hizi universities zetu wako katika hizi primaries zetu, but there's something that you've touched about diverting those budgets, and I think that would be the worst worst practice that these government officials would be doing, because from what I've learned from class about issues finances, when we agree and how the government operates in terms of finances and budgets, it's really not right to divert, because the process of allocating, the process of setting aside budgets for this and this is usually a very big process, let me say so. It's not something that you can just wake up, you right now you can wake up. Yes, there's a lot that is involved in coming up and saying that this goes to education, this goes to this matters security of the country, this goes to matters health, unaona. So if somebody wakes up and just decides to divert government monies made for this to this, then it's quite unfortunate. Then it means that we really do not really respect our laws.
Of course, and I think we've not had a crisis. I've not had KRA call us press statement and say that we are having Kenyans not paying taxes, we are having business shutdowns, and now we are having our targets not being met by, let's say, 50%, which would be a crisis. It means each and every day Kenyans are paying for taxes. Worst off, when we have a slight shortfall, we run to the IMF or World Bank, borrow. It means that money should be there. Only that when that money comes, what is it being used for? Because I don't think that when somebody sits in parliament or in any policy making organ, he'll be able to say that State House will have 10 meetings and each meeting will cost this. I don't think so. I think the money that is meant to finance other projects, somebody wakes up in the morning and says, we have an urgent issue to sort out in State House next week. Please, when you collect some money, we want it there. That is it. And it may look like the teachers who were in State House were 1,000 and each was being given 10,000.
Hey.
That is 100 million. It is not what teachers are asking for, but just imagine if you do like 6 meetings. That's already 600.
Somebody said somewhere that hakuna shilingi 10 bila shilingi moja. Yeah, we start from somewhere that little. Mpaka you put 1 + 1 + 1 for you to get to 10.
Exactly.
So it's quite important. There is no any amount of money that is immaterial in terms of our budgets, like right now as a country where we are right now.
Yes, sure.
As we speak. Okay. Still matters education. Let's hear what the CS education is saying about the preparedness for the NEC exams, which are about to start, I think, on the 17th of October.
NEC conducted a pilot study in 265 sampled schools countrywide in July 2024. That's last year. The report of that pilot informed the preparation of KJSEA sample papers, which were shared in all junior schools through the CBA portal in January this year. So anyone who is selling those papers and telling Kenyans that this is a leaked exam, please don't waste your money on those kind of papers.
Has released over 282,940 teachers as center managers, supervisors, and invigilators. We have equally recalled all our field officers who are on leave so that they facilitate this examination process.
I don't know. Have you been there? Kuna wakati, I don't know whether you were in school then. There's a time there was a lot of exam cheating.
Yes.
There is a period of time. Was it 2011? Is it 2011?
I think it was when Professor Sam Ongeri was CS, and the person who actually cracked was Matiani. Matiani cracked it. Yes, he put a stop into it. We are not seeing, although.
Oh yes. I remember that time Matiangi going to just appearing in a classroom. Amko mnatarajia kabisa kwamba CS ataingia kwenye classroom. Yeah, I remember that time. Mngekaa tu hivi mshtukie mnaona waziri ameingia.
Yes, and you know it is about how one man, how a leader can fix the system. People say that you can change a leader and the system remains the same, but we are seeing a lot of transformative leadership in Burkina Faso, courtesy of one young man. We saw a lot of transformative leadership at NEC, a lot of reforms on how exams are handled, because at the level of which we were going to a level where I think our qualification could not be trusted outside this country, and somebody would tell somebody you are a doctor and you are Kenyan, and you would doubt if you're a serious doctor or a serious pilot.
Are you even saying outside the country or even inside the country?
Yes,
our country.
Yes,
By
exactly.
the way, then you could have somebody who's saying that they are a graduate, right? But then the things they are doing, right? You give them an assignment, they can't deliver. You get. So it really, you see, when we have exam cheatings, it really affects the quality of people that we are expecting to get outside there. And mark you, when you are giving somebody maybe leakage, when somebody is doing exam cheating, you never know. Atapita kwe daktari, yatakuja kukudunga sindano.
Exactly, because I think back then, the best students, those who got A, those who got A minuses, were being sent to the most crucial courses, engineering. And you can imagine that somebody is designing a building like the one we are seated on, and maybe
they cheated their way there.
Yeah, somebody is attending to an emergency patient at KNH or in Kakamega or in Busia there, and they do not qualify. And I think the challenge was we emphasized more on the education part, which actually when it was being viewed that when you didn't pass your KCSE exam, there was almost nothing for you at the end of the day. And that was really pushing people who were very unethical at the Ministry of Education, at Kenya National Examination Council, to actually sell these exams to sometimes principals, sometimes direct to sometimes even parents. Sometimes students would come up with a WhatsApp group, raise money so that they can buy these exams. But I think that era is way gone, and we only need to raise our standards more. What I've heard from the CS is encouraging, but we're waiting to see how the exam officials will handle the exam period. It all boils down now to action. We want to see high standards of integrity in exams, and that, just as you've said, it speaks to the quality of people that come out of schools.
Yes. Okay, let me cut you short because we are going to the top of the hour. We have like 16 seconds to the top of the hour, and of course we shall be getting back. This is Radio Generation. The show you're listening to is the Generation Report. This is just a roundup of news that have happened in the course of the week.
It's 8 o'clock.
Generation, the home of urban soul. This week, power was tested in the corridors of leadership, economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks, these are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters, the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Tricia Wayua, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
Thank the countries that helped me put this together: Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and so many others. So many people fought so hard. This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down and concrete. Very importantly, I look forward to having the hostages come home to their parents, and having some of the hostages, unfortunately, you know the condition they're in, come home likewise to their parents, because their parents wanted them just as much as though that young man or young woman were alive. So I just want to let you know that this is a very special day.
The United Nations is more than a meeting place. It's a moral compass, a force for peace and peacekeeping, a guardian of international law, a catalyst for sustainable development, a lifeline for people in crisis, a lighthouse for human rights, and a center that transforms your decisions, the decisions of member states, into action. 80 years on, we confront again the question our founders faced, only more urgent, more intertwined, more unforgiving. What kind of world do we choose to build together?
Rais aliposikia hivyo, one of the things alisema ni kuwa tukue na registration of SHA kwa prisons, na hiyo ni kazi tunafanya ndio angalau watu wangu wapate matibabu. Sasa tuko na hiyo program, tunaenda kumalizia by end of this year, tutamalizia, tutaregister kila mtu kwa SHA ndio angalau apate matibabu.
to send the signal that the absence of multilateralism is dangerous for humanity is extremely essential at this point. We will not be able to deal with the conflicts that we see if we disrespect or weaken or undermine multilateralism.
As a result of application of latest technology, Kenyans can get their IDs in a matter of minutes, and delivery to the various registration centers happens between 3 and 7 days using the live capture machines. Ningependa kusema ya kwamba tukipata Mkenya yoyote, ofisa yoyote, kama ni chifu, kama ni clerks wetu ambao wanaitisha pesa kwa wananchi, hiyo ni ufisadi na tutachukulia hatua ya kisheria na watafutwa kazi.
In the verification exercise that we are undertaking currently, part of the information that we are collecting is the number of students in each of those institutions and the status or the state in which those institutions are. This is the information that now will be able to give us data to enable the government make a policy on whether some of those schools have got any basis to remain registered, whether we will move some of those students from one school to another, so that we can have institutions that are optimal in terms of having the right number of teachers and the right number of...
We introduced personalization of the KCSE candidate question papers. This process will continue this year because through this process, as examiners are marking the candidates' scripts, they don't have access to the name of the candidate, they don't even have access to the index number of the candidate, and therefore the bias is completely eliminated.
Hata wale ambao wanajaribu mambo mengine kuuza kampuni za serikali, we want any possible investor. You cannot benefit from a state-captured parliament and then buy cheaply public property, some of it in critical infrastructure.
Kuna pale mifeli upande mwingine. Unapata governor anaitwa kwa senate, bado anaenda kubrush off vitu zingine, anafika pale kama anaenda kupiga story na yeye. Wanapiga story long na wanamwachilia arudi nyumbani. Tarajio yangu kwamba center vinakuja center kuja county ya Busia, ni unajua tunaambiwa kwamba kazi ya center ni kufanya oversight. Na hizi kesi ambazo zimekuwa hapa Busia county walishika labda wafanyakazi wa county 6 kwamba allegation kwamba walikuwa wamepora pesa za county. So kitu kwa center pia make sure kwamba waangalie kwa hizo pesa allegation kama ni ukweli kwamba watu waliiba pesa ya county, wa make sure wafuatiliwa na hizo pesa zirudishwe na wananchi wapate services ambayo inatakikana.
Ningependa kuongea na Senate wanapotutembelea Busia border ya kuwa hapa matarajio yetu kama clearing and forwarding tupo na very squeezed parking space. When we expand our territory, when we expand our parking yard, inamaanisha we shall be accommodating more vehicles. If we accommodate incoming more vehicles, inamaanisha we shall also be accommodating enough revenue to our country.
The current status of tourism sector in Kenya and how recent trends in tourist arrivals compare between domestic and international visitors. The parameters highlighted below demonstrate a good performance of the sector in 2024 as compared with 2023 figures. In terms of international arrivals, Honorable Speaker, Kenya welcomed approximately 2.4 million international tourists in 2024.
Nikamuuliza vipi uendeleaje, akasema atanasikia vibaya sana, hata sitaenda shule, nitaenda hospitali. Nikamwambia sawa basi wacha natoka na aje nje kuchukua nikupeleke hospitali. Kumaliza hiyo kwa asubuhi yake akapigwa mwalimu huko. Ambao mwalimu basi mtoto amemalizika, kukatoka mwalimu mmoja hapo shule akalia, alipolia wale watoto wakauliza vipi ni nini mwalimu mbona analia? Ambao basi kuna Anestini ametuacha. Watoto wakasema ni yule mwalimu aliyempiga. Ni yule mwalimu aliyempiga. Aliuliwa na kitu gani? Anasema kichwa.
Tumetoka postmortem right now na ripoti ya daktari imetoka, inaonyesha kwamba yule msichana alikuwa na internal bleeding kwa kichwa.
Wow, we are back. This is the Generation Report on Radio Generation, the home of hard truth and bold insights. Remember, it is 88.8 here in Nairobi and 90.7 kwa watu wangu wa pwani kule Mombasa, and pia kwa wale ambao wanategea kule online, maybe ulikuwa unasikiza kwa jirani yako, please do so on your gadgets on rgk.co.ke. Ukifinya hiyo link utakuwa umezama ndani ya kipindi. Vile if you want to follow us on our other social media platform, that is Facebook, kuna Twitter pia na Instagram, please do so. It is Radio Gen KE. Kule online nishasema rgk.co.ke. Please join us in this conversation. The conversation here is quite important because it is informing decision making, it is shaping opinions. So tukizungumza hapa hivi hatuzungumzi tu. We are breaking down all this news that you missed in the course of the week, or the news that you had in the course of the week. We are breaking them down to make more sense. Therefore, please join this conversation. In this conversation, we have I have my guest here. Alfred Makotsi is here with me, and also Kidi has joined us. Najua ametoka mbali sana, sijui mvua ya Nairobi imemlemea ama vipi, because in the course of this week, by the way, Met walizungumza. Na unajua Kenya mnapenda sana kudharau maneno na ama kupuuza maneno sana, and especially reports from Met, wa Kenya wanapenda kupuuza sana. So yesterday they spoke, they said expect rains in Nairobi and other places. Na sasa na Wakenya wakadhani ni mchezo. So yesterday evening ilikuwa chaotic. We had a surge in terms of Uber walilipisha pesa, a place where you usually go with your 200 shillings. Yesterday it was around 1,000 shillings. I don't know whether you you experienced those chaos yesterday.
Well, unfortunately, some of us, God has been gracious enough that when it rains like it did yesterday, it found us already at home.
Wow.
Yes.
You are already at home.
Yes. Well, I have spent the entire week together with my brother here working with young people in Kajiado under what is called the Youth Devolution Festival. So yesterday was the last day, and therefore we came back to Nairobi
a bit early.
By the time a lot of Kenyans were getting caught up in the rain, some of us were lounging in our coaches.
Wow. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Afadhali nyinyi. Wengine wetu tulipatikana hapa.
Yes.
Yeah. And mark you, we are the ones ambao tulikuwa tunaambia watu kutanyesha. But then we were caught in the office. So it was chaotic, but anyway we got home safely. Everything was quite okay, but as we had the rains still continues. So please, watu ambao unajua unakaa katika place ambapo you are prone to floodings and so forth, the drainage is a problem, please take care. It's quite important. Yes. So I'm going to give you this opportunity to introduce yourself again, and also Alfred also to introduce himself again, so that now we can get into this matter. You've heard some story that I've played here. This is a news that that happened in the course of this week. So we are going to talk a bit about it as we continue.
Thank you. Thank you, the people of Kenya, joining us on Generation Report. Of course, I'm yours truly, Kidi Mwaga. I have the good fortune of being in studio with our sister and friend Tricia Wayua. Of course, I am the convener Interparties Youth Forum. Again, the convener Manifesto Yetu, an entity that seeks to amplify the voices of young people in the civic spaces to ensure that as we march into 2026 and 2027, we are more responsible young citizens of this country and help steer this country towards the right side of history. Thank you.
Karibu sana Kidi.
Asante.
Alfred.
My name is Alfred Makotsi. I hail from Kakamega County, but here in Nairobi, I'm a lecturer of international relations and diplomacy at Kenya Methodist University. I'm a policy analyst, foreign policy analyst. I'm a youth advocate, and I also like engaging in conversations that affect Kenyans and trying to suggest and bring solutions to the challenges this country experiences.
Quite amazing. And myself.
Yes, tell us.
I am Tricia Wayua, of course. I work here at Radio Generation. Currently tuko kwa newsroom. So ukisikia tukizungumza hapa, I know what we are talking about. It is something that we've worked on the whole week. So these are things that I've interacted with in the entire week. Therefore, it's quite important, and I'm also privileged to have this opportunity to be here to be discussing, to be conversing on these issues, so that we can be together. We can look for solutions together. We can shape a decision making. Opinions in our country. Therefore, I had played some news here, a news item about this child, a pupil actually in some school kule Kilifi County, Pwani, ambapo apparently she died out of I think internal bleeding, according to what they are saying, internal bleeding, because she was caned by apparently she was caned by a teacher in some school in Kilifi County. So now the question is, what happened to this caning? The caning policy is caning back to schools, and now the question is, as a parent or as a teacher, I believe as a teacher, somehow you might be a parent. Even if not a parent, you are a brother to some sister somewhere. You are somebody's child, and maybe in future you also are going to become a parent. So I want to understand, why is it that now you teachers have become so insensitive such that you would cane a child instead of, according to what they said, is that alipigwa kwa kichwa. Why would you go to that extent? Even if you're caning, you're disciplining a child. You know, discipline is quite important. But when you're disciplining a child, why should it go to the extent of unapiga mtoto kwa kichwa?
Pat, I'm son of a teacher. And I come from the background that spare the rod, spoil the child. But then from a practical standpoint, and especially as a parent, I am a parent, I believe that there is a place of disciplining. There are different methods of disciplining. There are those who send their children into the ground, is it called ground zero?
Yes.
When a child is grounded. There are those who are a bit old school, who know that their way of punishing has to be corporal. But then when you come to the policy and the law, starting with the Children's Act of 2001, and it has been updated over time.
Yes.
The law frowns to a great extent to corporal punishment, because in part of how corporal punishment in itself was a contributor to children dropping out of school out of fear of that corporal punishment. I started by saying that I'm a son of a teacher, and while still in primary, my mother loved to say that nne bora. Nne bora was that when you are late or when you are caught on the wrong side of her law,
yes,
was that you'd lie down and get 4 strokes.
Bora.
Yes, bora. But on the back. So that by the time a child is suffering from internal bleeding on account of corporal punishment, then that is a child who has been battered. And I think that teachers must still continue to remember that when parents surrender the children under their care, there is a fiduciary responsibility that they owe the parents, that they will act in the best interest of the child, which is the overriding principle in the Children's Act, the best interest of the child. I still believe that because of the delicate balancing act between punishing a child to instill discipline and making sure that you also preserve the child from harm, teachers can still strike a balance without harming children to the extent that because I believe that if a child is given nebora, that cannot result
behind.
On the behind, that can certainly not result in a child developing internal bleeding, however fragile that child might be,
to the extent of
dying.
Yes.
So I think that we must ask teachers to become sensitive, particularly as caregivers, and in the instances where a teacher abuses the trust bestowed upon them by the parent and the society, then the full force of the law must prevail as a deterrent. Thank you.
Makotsi, let's hear your view.
I think my view is that definitely there is some extent of punishment that went overboard. We hear so much of children dying because of punishment in the same environment where parents are able to discipline their children, even sometimes corporal punishment at home, but not to the extent that they would injure or kill their own daughter or son. I think teachers need to be, and not all, teachers need to be sensitive enough to realize that in as much as we are punishing, it should not be to the extent of causing that grievous injury or death to somebody's child. Because at the end of the day, it is more important to have the child alive than to inflict a punishment that would take away the life of a young, promising human being whom the future may be so brighter, even brighter than maybe the teacher's future. So I think teachers need to stick by the law, and that law is meant to protect them against circumstances such as these that the teacher has found himself in. If the law says there's no corporal punishment, I think it is in the interest of the teacher to see that he finds another way to discipline the children other than corporal punishment. Because realize that the days Kidi Mwaga was growing up, the days you, Tricia, and I were growing up, I think it would be normal for somebody to be canned. You get late, you're canned, you're on the leg, on the hand. Sometimes the teacher would pinch you, but the children born out of this age, I think some of them are very sensitive genetically. So you may not know the case you're dealing with. The Nebora that used to be given to Kidi Mwaga.
To Kidi, yes.
I think a child, the child nowadays is very light, and you'd find there are more cases of even asthma, more cases of heart diseases. So you may not really know what you're dealing with as a teacher. So the law actually is meant to protect the teacher, in as much as sometimes they say that it is meant to
protect the child.
Yes.
Basically, it is you, the teacher, by the way. Actually, both. Let us just say both, because sometimes as a teacher, you will end up getting yourself into problems just because you didn't put into consideration what you were actually doing. Personally, I look at it as kama kitambo. Wacha kwanza nirudi kwa lugha ya nyumbani kidogo.
Yes.
So kuna huu wakati fulani kulikuwa na kijana katika shule yetu tulikuwa tunasoma. So apparently siku moja kuna mwalimu alikuwa anapeana zile punishment weird. Ungefanya makosa unaenda unafungwa, ile ilikuwa unaingizwa kichwa kwa miguu, then you're tied kwa window. Sawa. And then now unawekwa viboko. Sasa si 4. Pale hata ni kama karibu 20 bora. And actually ukiangalia vile umewekwa, even breathing is a problem. So I remember there is this day when the mother, like kuna kijana alifungwa hivyo, ndugu yake akaona, he ran home, akaendea mama yake. So the mother came with a panga. Urasikia alikuja na panga. Now the teacher had to run away.
Yes.
But then now, okay, we are not encouraging such things to be happening, because like you're saying, we have a law that is protecting both of you, the teacher and the pupil. So there is the aspect of now emotions, the balancing of emotions. We have sometimes tunatoka katika setups za family whereby unaweza pata usiku umekosana na mkeo ama na bwana yako na wewe ni mwalimu. So you're going to school, you are not talking to your partner. So you're going to school and transferring this bitterness to this child who is innocent, like something that ungempatia 4 bora ama 1 bora you end up messing that child. You get. So I think, like he's saying, that law is really meant to protect both.
Yes.
The parent, the child, and even the teacher.
Yes.
Quite important that now our teachers wasikize in and they need to change.
And let me just add, and it goes even beyond the corporal punishment. I think last 2 years there was a case in a school here in Nairobi, a private school here in Nairobi, whereby a pupil was admitted to a school, and the school had a program where children used to run around the field.
I remember the case. Yes, I remember
and,
it.
The parent clearly told the teachers that I think my child, let him be exempted from running.
Yes.
But the teacher kept on insisting that you must run. You see, that's what I'm saying. We are dealing with a very unique kind of population because of maybe the genetics that come with it. That when a parent gives you instructions or not, you have to be extra sensitive. And when I was in university, I quite interacted with those who are taking education, and I never saw a unit deliberately that speaks to how they should handle discipline cases. I interact with friends who are teachers of this age, not of the older generation, of this age. They would tell you that when the law against corporal punishment came, when a child does a mistake, you leave the child. You see, that should not be the case. I think the system should train teachers on alternative ways of disciplining the child, so that corporal punishment is not the only way a teacher thinks that the child should be punished, just in case, because these children also do mistakes. So in as much as we are eliminating the corporal punishment, teachers need to be inducted into creative ways of punishing these children, so that we also don't encourage a culture of indiscipline.
Yes. That's quite but I think that they do know, they know the alternatives that they have. It's only that some of them choose. I feel like it's like some of them choose just to be like akwe ule ndio ule mwalimu mnoma yule. Yeah, ndio yule mwalimu ambaye anataka subjects zake zipitwe vizuri. So some of them, I think, because this communication about the banning of those corporal punishment, it's just everywhere.
Yes.
So, and again, teachers, we hold that now the Minister of Education, if now they could just rethink and get a lot of get these people, when they go for these refresher courses, when they go for these trainings, these are some of the things they need to be reminded. It's not that they don't know. They need to be reminded.
But I would say this, that great societies are great in large part, not because of the law in isolation, in spite of the fact that the law is very important, but great societies are great because of the values they hold dear. I think that teachers, as central players in the development of a society, must remember that compassion and love are great values in building the next generation. I honestly believe that when teachers, for all their competence, discharge their mandate with a great element of compassion and love, I do not think that they would get to a point of flogging a child to the extent of leaving a child with injuries. In the instance when a child is left with injuries, then we know that that is someone who, from the get-go, what in law we call ab initio, is unfit to remain a teacher. Teachers are caregivers. Teachers are instructors into how a person become a responsible citizen. Because children, and they're just that children, pupils and students are still young people developing and do not know much, they rely on the guidance of their teachers. For all the firmness a teacher might want to master, they must remember to discharge that toughness with love. Love sometimes can be tough, but tough love does not mean you break a child.
True.
Tough love does not mean you harm a child. Teachers must remember that when children are out of home and in the confines of learning institutions, they are the children's protectors. As protectors, when a child suffers any injury in their arms, let the full force of the law prevail against them. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Patricia Wayua, and this is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
And in the event there is anyone soliciting for money, a report should be made immediately to the nearest police station or to the numbers that we have provided, including the fichua to the DCI. I also want to warn the public that if there is anyone who is going to be involved on matters corrupt practices, both the giver and the taker will have their time in the court. We are ready to take serious action, drastic actions against any member of the service who goes in that direction.
Katika zile opportunities ama zile nafasi ambazo tumetoa ni kuwa kuna njia tofauti za mtu kupata zile forms aweze kwenda nazo kwa recruitment center. Njia ya kwanza rahisi kabisa ni ile ya ku-download. Ukiwa na access, una download. Njia ingine tumepeleka forms kwa huduma centers that they are able to access them. The last which is now a practical approach, tunabeba forms. Hawa wanapotoka hapa leo wanabeba physical forms.
I'm aware of course that there was a legal process in court and one of the judges has given an order to stop the recruitment process. I believe that will be sorted. I wish I would call the judge directly. I wish I would be allowed to call the judge directly to understand the consequences of a court order stopping recruitment of police that has never happened for the last 4 years, and how it is very critical for the safety of our country to recruit those police officers urgently, not just because of anything else, to secure our borders, because there are many police officers who have retired, some have passed on, and we need to replace.
Okay, yes, that is the CS interior. Na umesikia saying we've not been able to recruit officers, police officers for a period of 4 years, right? Na before unajua tulikuwa tumezoea kwamba kila wakati tunaona kila mwaka serikali inaajiri polisi. But this time round, there has been a period there we've not been having that. And actually, one of the reasons they said was the budgets. There were no budgets for police recruitment and so forth. Now it was meant to take place on the 3rd, right? To start this 3rd. But then kumekuwa na changamoto nyingi sana. So you've heard what the CS said about that same issue, because it was stopped by the court because there were so many issues. So I do not know, what is your submission on that?
I think any Kenyan deserves the right to petition a process when he feels that the process actually infringes on his or her right. The only challenge that comes with it is that are our courts able to dispense the justice as soon as possible, so that judicial processes are not being used to stop implementation of government agenda. I believe that this case, in as much as Haron Mwau had his reasons why he filed the case, I think the judge should be cautious enough to realize that this is a case where he can or they can handle in a matter of days, so that we end or we not find ourselves in a stalemate. Security is one key component of a state, and CS Murkomen has gone all over this country, 47 counties, finishing with Nairobi. And one of the challenges the OCS and the OCPDs plus the security organs were saying is that we do not have enough manpower to actually deploy and ensure that every Kenyan life and every Kenyan property is guarded or is given protection. And that's why we had a good number of cases, even in the streets of Nairobi, daylight, of people snatching each other's phone, robbing each other. You can imagine if that can happen in broad daylight in CBD in a capital city. What is happening in the villages back in Migori? Is cattle theft going on? Are people stealing produces from each other's farm? So recruitment of police is very, I don't know why it took 4 years, yet security is a very major component. I don't know which is the most important budget the government was considering, so that they shelve the police recruitment and take care of that budget, because we've not seen any replacement of that police budget to maybe a significant program that maybe we will say, let us sacrifice this and let us sacrifice the police and take care of this. So I think this case needs to be dispensed as early as next week Tuesday, and we need to get the young people onto protecting the Kenyan lives and property. That is my take.
Let's hear from Kidi.
Thank you, Pat. Well, one, my brother Daktari has said it very well, that in the last 4 years we have not been able to recruit the police. Within the same period, we've also had so many officers, either natural attrition, who die, or who fall sick and therefore have to leave the forces. There are those who seek greener pastures. Mm-hmm. There are also those who generally just desert. Mm-hmm. Security is a very central tenet of a state, because when we are able to take care of internal criminal elements, we are also able, that is how we are also able to deter external elements from infiltrating into our society. I think the single most critical installation in a democracy is a functioning police force, because the moment when security cannot be guaranteed, then it marks the beginning of the end of what you call the social contract. There have been a feeling that sometimes there is a greater interference by the judiciary in the running of the state. Mm-hmm. I think that the management of things like security should largely be left in the hands of the executive. And in the spirit of interdependence, if and when there is an issue around policing, the judiciary should then have a quiet way of having to resolve some of those issues with the executive without necessarily granting orders that appear to tie the hands of the state from discharging its mandate. We say that Chapter 4 of the Constitution is very progressive. I am personally, I think my thematic area in law school was human rights. So that underscores the fact that how much I place human rights in the management of the affairs of the state. But I think things like security, because of their complex nature, we should have the judiciary conducting itself with a bit of restraint and being cautious not to grant orders that appear to weaken the hand of the state. By delaying, this recruitment has been long in coming. By continuing to delay this process, I think we are also putting ourselves in harm's way in regards to next elections. I want us to remember that in 2012, I think we had double intake of police recruitment as part of the larger preparation we had for 2013 elections. Remember, it was the elections we were going to after the new constitution and after the disastrous 2007 election.
Yes.
As we are headed into 2027 elections, Daktari will tell you that reports from NCIC has indicated that more than 3/3 of the counties are hotspots. So it is not going to be enough that we preach peace in the media houses through different organs without being able to have boots on the ground to ensure that we do the actual policing work. I pray that this matter, the Office of the Attorney General, makes sure that we are able to get over this impasse and ensures that we are able to have this recruitment and make sure that that recruitment is followed by other recruitments and make sure that we top up the number of policemen we need to make sure that we get into 2027 when on the policing front we've got sufficient manpower to handle any inconvenience that might arise that can undermine our sovereignty as a people. Thank you.
Well, there is the aspect of bribing, so that you can get your way to the force. What is your take on that?
It is a reality, and ever since I became of age and I became of understanding how the Kenyan system works and how processes in this country are conducted, I think recruitment of police and army is one of the areas where we've had a challenge in actually the issue of corruption. And it speaks to even how, even when these police are now, they've now undergone pass out in Kiganjo and they are now on our streets or in our OCSS office or in our police station. You see, if you give out, let's say, 300,000, 400,000 for you to get a police job, and at the end of the day, we know that the entry-level salary for a police officer cannot be more than 50,000. You can imagine if that officer now picks up the responsibility of discharging his duty, how corrupt he would be to recover the money he has taken. I think we need to bring this issue to a close. I've heard the security officials saying that they will not allow bribery and corruption to take place in this recruitment. That is talk. We need to see at the end of the day, we need to see how the process would be conducted. And it speaks very much on even the quality of service that we have. Corruption would affect even the standards of policemen we have. If somebody who is undeserving gets an opportunity to be in police service and maybe is not fit enough or not competent enough, even after training, how would he be able to handle the Gen Zs who are going maybe to demonstrate later on in future? How would he be able to handle Baragoi cat rustling? So corruption has haunted our police force or our police service in recruitment, and it goes a long way in even affecting the culture of dispensing security services in our country. And it's high time that this recruitment has to be different. Now that we've stayed for 4 years without recruiting, this recruitment should be a recruitment that is open, transparent. We should be able to see a different way of conducting business.
I think that is also my take. Would want to see a different way of recruitment, and of course they said there is, of course, we saw this from the start because they introduced the actually the application, the online application, meaning there are some changes we are expecting. So let's wait and see now what happens now on the ground, because now kwa ground mambo yote sasa.
I don't know what they're trying to cure by the online application. I'm not seeing any major difference, because the actual recruitment, actually where they say it is now Tricia or Kidi, happens in Buhungu Stadium or Uhuru Park, and we've been told cases where somebody has written 300 on the palm or on the feet and they're able to communicate. We've been told cases where that they advertise, and those who have gone to Kiganjo say after 1 week is now when you see 500 new recruits coming in who did not undergo the normal recruitment. Those stories, those conversations should stop. I think how we are going to stop it, we need the media to be on the ground. We need the young people with their phones and with everything. Every eye should be on the ground to make sure that no money exchanges hands to sell out an opportunity that a Kenyan that is patriotic, fit, and willing to serve this country is denied.
But let me ask you, do you think the exchange of money really happens on the ground? Do you think so?
I think it happens. It
happens on the ground.
It happens on the ground. From the conversations I've had, and sometimes it's usually the highest bidder. And you're only able to know the highest bidder because you are on the ground. Somebody would come, he has written 200 on the palm, another has written 400, they pick the 400 one.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't know that. You know why I'm smiling is I've just remembered some story of a colleague of mine, a former colleague of mine. Aliniambia vile alienda kwenye recruitment exercise some times back. So now he made it look really feel funny, because how he was explaining it was they went wakaingia kule. First of all, ya kwanza walienda wakaambiwa kuna lori ilikuwa iko na maaskari kule, so unaambiwa unakimbia mpaka ushike ile kufika pale kwa ile lori. I don't know how true that story is. Then you're given a paper that is now your ticket to go back. So kushika ile lori anasema by the time aamke asikie ile go, by the time aamke haoni mtu mbele yake. Everybody and yeah, so again also this one he was saying that wako pale ndani, then now kuna ile mnaambiwa march. So the guy commanding you march, go. So kuna ule anawa lead, so he led them outside the compound, and that's how they were told. That's how they were told you did not qualify, like march. So they thought they were doing something that bado kuna nafasi. Kumbe they are being led outside the gate. You go home, you have not qualified. Anyway, these are some of the things that people experience out there, like you're saying, pointing out the issue of writing what you have on the palm of your hands, so that now they can see who is offering more.
Yes,
that's quite unfortunate in our country. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, let's hear something about food security in.
I've not had. I'd wish to hear what he would say
about bribery.
Let me tell.
But didn't give me a chance.
Okay. No, now you have it.
Let me put it in context.
Yes.
In the context of, I think in December, when Governor CS Mutua for Labor or CS Labor announced that we are going to recruit people for jobs, and we saw a huge number of young people. I think, what do you expect in the police recruitment and everything that entails?
One, the bribery question underscores the desperate situation we live in as a country in regards to unemployment. And I think that successive administrations from the time KANU left power in 2002 have let the people of Kenya down because of how we have neglected the question of absorbing the human resource that we have developed. We had hoped, I think our policymakers to a large extent felt that or thought that the question of employment would be solved through the market. But then you see the transition between Kibaki and President Kenyatta and the transition between President Kenyatta and President Ruto has come with certain incompatibilities. And give me a chance to dwell on this. We have praised President Kibaki to have, presided over a thriving economy. And that is what economists call Kibakinomics. One thing about Kibakinomics was that he expanded the education infrastructure, introduced many centers of higher learning like universities, ensured that more children were able to access education. But I think at the macroeconomic level, there was still so much that could have been done in terms of opening up the economy. Because by the time President Kibaki was living in 2013, while the economy was largely doing well, we should have started focusing on then how do we ensure that part of the Kibakinomics was infrastructure. We built Thika Superhighway. We were thinking of the Lapset project. We were thinking of the SGR, but under BOT, build, operate, and transfer. As we are thinking about this, I think that we did not focus more at the policy level, that then how do we ensure that our consumption is from within? Because remember, by the time we were getting to 2016, 2017, we were importing including maize. So our productive sector had collapsed entirely. Again, in those 4 years after the Jubilee administration came in, as a consequence of their reckless borrowing, we also had massive capital flight. Majority of the manufacturing companies that we had locally were now moving to the region. I am saying all this to underscore the fact that then a lot of these young people that were educated under Kibaki were now finding or are finding themselves without work. We have for far too long pointed accusing finger at the police, National Police Service, that the recruitment process is mad with bribery. But that bribery has got a root to it that is beyond the law enforcement officers who go on the ground to do exercise. So I think that even as we embark on the recruitment process, as we say that that the bribery, that let us take only people who merit and qualify. So many young people merit and qualify, and therefore that is where now the officers are spoiled for choice, because the officers themselves equally are not adequately and properly remunerated. Then and our value system, even in the law enforcement, also is shaky. I started this conversation by saying that great societies are great in large part because of the values they hold dear. Then you realize that when we do not remunerate our officers properly, then they look at these young people who have come to them desperate and are willing to offer everything, including selling their ancestral land, so that they have got a chance to have the dignity of a payslip. They get tempted as well. So I think that the question of bribery is a systemic problem that we must deal with, and at the political level. And by political level is that I mean we have a political leadership that again is willing to invest its political capital in the war against corruption. Thank you.
I can't say, I can't put it better than you have done it. You want to add something?
Let me just add.
Yes.
I think what I also expected in this recruitment was not a lot of physical running stuff and height. I think most of the crimes that we're experiencing right now, apart from the robbery, we also experience a lot of white collar crimes where somebody is able to find a way in your financial system and hack. So our police should, in the recruitment, should at least invest more on intelligence and actually having instruments that deter or prevent some of these crimes from happening. Some of these things that we are seeing happen in Nairobi, Shakahola, and the other case we are discussing. Yes, I think more of intelligence, more of people who are able to prevent crimes from happening actually would serve more, and that would not speak well to going to the field and saying, let us run. That person who is able to predict a pattern of crimes may not be the best runner or might not be having a certain height, but is able to serve in our police service in a capacity to prevent some crimes from happening.
Okay, thank you.
This is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation.
Tumekuwa na shida muda mrefu tokea shule ianze. Tumekuwa tukipata maji kwa sababu kutoka kwa Buza ndio ambao wanatuletea maji hapa kila wakati. Kwa hivyo na vile ambavyo sasa population ilikuwa ni ndogo, tulikuwa tuna manage, lakini sasa hii population imezidi na tuko na wanafunzi karibu 600 na wanafunzi hawa maji yale sasa hayatoshi.
Tunategemea wabwawa moja peke yake, na kwa vile mvua haikuwa vizuri mwaka huu, hilo bwawa saa hii limekauka. Hiyo inakuwa changamoto kwa wanafunzi wetu, kwa sababu masomo hapa yanaanza saa 1 kamili, lakini utakuta ukiingia darasani wewe kama mwalimu unakuta hakuna mwanafunzi. Kwa sababu gani? Wanafunzi wameenda huko kuhangaika maji.
A Bro irrigation scheme is we are targeting 50,000 metric tons of 50,000 acres, 50,000 acres of rice and another 50,000 acres of sugar. Then we are also going to move. In fact, very soon we are arranging to move to West Kano. We are also going to move to that is West Ahero, the Ahero irrigation scheme. We are also going to go to Loge Kimera, and we also targeting Lower Kuja. That is for rice production. At the moment, Kenya is still importing well over 700 metric tons, 700,000 metric tons of rice. We want to reduce that, either to eliminate it or reduce it to bare minimum. At most, 10 to 20% of our rice should be imported.
We have a deficit of 700,000 metric tons, but the State Department, working closely with National Treasury, has come up with a strategy which involves smallholder and large-scale holders. In the smallholder region, we are targeting the Nyanza region and the coastal region, whereby we are targeting to get an additional 200,000 metric tons using our smallholder farmers. Then we also targeting in Bura irrigation scheme to have another 50,000 acres under production, which will give us 300,000 metric tons. So in the next 2 years, we are likely to reduce the 700,000 metric tons by 500,000 metric tons.
We must always say no to corruption. We've been trying to do that in the judiciary by setting up systems, structures, and mechanisms, including an address every day you come to court. There will be someone explaining that the services that we give are free. There is no room for corruption, and if anybody has asked you for money, it's a criminal offense.
Just because I have 3 minutes, we are supposed to look at the Galana Kolalo project, food project. But before we get to that, let's look at what CS Kome has, CJ Kome has said about bribery. It's something that we were talking about because you have 3 minutes. I think she's also talked about this attitude of Kenyans.
Yes.
Umeenda mahali hata hujaombwa hiyo bribe.
Yes.
Wewe ndo unaanza kuuliza nifanyie hii, nitakununulia chai. Utakunywa chai. Unaona? The office actually has not even requested you for a bribe. Wewe umefika tu. It's some culture, like you're saying. This thing has just gotten into ourselves, like Kenyans, and ukienda mahali you just feel like I need to give something for me to be served. And she's saying it clearly that you go to the judiciary, sawa, you go to the courts. Ukifika kule ni places umeambiwa kwamba don't give bribes. Your services unafaa kupewa the services that you require.
Yes.
But then ukifika pale wewe mwenyewe you are offering yourself.
Unaanza kusema na madam hapa amekula lunch kweli.
Umekula lunch. So when is this culture?
Yes.
When will it end? Like taisha lini?
Let me tell you this. Again, I'm a student of history. And we must remember that in the only time the people of Kenya arrested a police officer under what you call civilian arrest was after NAC had swept to power in 2003. Part of why that was happening is because there was a political environment where the citizens believed that there was zero tolerance to corruption. One of the things that historians will record was a fantastic failure on the part of President Kibaki, was the failure to sustain that culture.
Okay.
Because by the time you get to 2004, there is the massive Anglo-leasing scandal that breaks out.
Okay, I think.
And let me say this.
Seconds, you have 12 seconds.
Okay, then finish so that I say this because it is important.
Yeah, because I just wanted us to talk about.
Allow me to bounce back after, yes.
Yeah, because we only have 3 seconds to the top of the hour.
Thank you.
It's 9 o'clock.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This week, power was tested in the corridors of leadership. Economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks. These are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters: the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Tricia Wayua, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
We must always say no to corruption. We've been trying to do that in the judiciary by setting up systems, structures, and mechanisms, including an address every day you come to court. There will be someone explaining that the services that we give are free. There is no room for corruption, and if anybody has asked you for money, it's a criminal offense.
Yes, I think that is what we were discussing about, yes. And you said that you want to...
I want to deal with it properly.
But you look at the time. We have a lot to discuss, yes.
So I will cut to the chase in that case.
Yes.
Again, so part of the corruption is that in Swahili you say tukona nidhamu mbaya. Why would I say that tukona nidhamu mbaya? Is that you have a political culture or a political elite that have sent the signal down the system that it is okay to take bribes. Because what Justice CJ Koome is talking about is bribes. Part of that bribe taking is a political culture. because there is what you call grand corruption and small corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Bribes dwell within what you call a small corruption. That small corruption is as destructive as grand corruption, because usually, for instance, look at the police service. When you see police deployed on the roads as part of the traffic department, they have got some kind of understanding that it appears from their superiors that they can extort bribe from the motorists.
Yes.
So that the moment you are stopped, you realize that it is easier when you part with 1,000. Usually I pitagi 1,000, particularly when you are a bit talking tough and you are in a nice tie na umeweka blazer nyuma ya kwa backseat. Wakiangalia hivi, you give them 1,000, they let you go. But then there are instances when you stand your ground, including as an officer of the court. Some of us are officers of the court. You realize that then there is a deliberate attempt to frustrate you. So I think that the moment we have got the political leadership committing that we will fight big corruption and small corruption, I think in a small way we shall deal decisively with the question of bribery.
Okay.
Because again, as the good book says, that it is the small foxes that destroys the wheat field. So let us not say, for instance, I have seen people suggesting that President William Ruto has done well in the area of corruption on the basis that in the last 3 years we've not had quote unquote big corruption. But then even the small corruption that we are entertaining are also corrosive to the society as much as a big corruption. Thank you.
I am of the class that believes that corruption is corruption.
Good.
Whether big
or small.
Whether grand. Because
or non-grand.
Yes, because what you're saying,
Yes.
I've heard you say something about it is the politicians
Yes.
who are bringing this culture to us. But then I tend to challenge you because I feel like hakuna politician atakuja kushikie kiboko nataka akupatie bribe. We as Kenyans have a responsibility in terms of also shying away from bribing.
So let me permit me a chance to respond to that. That when you go to seek service, and the political class, by the political class I mean those who are manning the state, have made their superiors know that it is okay, they can take small 500, 1,000 here, and that there will be no consequence. Because sometimes you realize that even that bribe taking is a racket that goes all the way to the big man. There are departments in this country, Patricia, where there every month people within a certain department have got to take their monthly tithes to the big man. The big man sometimes can be a permanent secretary, can be a cabinet secretary, can be someone high up or a director. So I think that, and that is so that when you have got a leadership that says that we will fight corruption, we will fight bribery, that service delivery must not depend on what you can give, that will send the right signal within the infrastructure, governance infrastructure. But when there is a tacit understanding that you can take 1,000 here, 5,000 here, and it is okay, then the people will succumb and say, wengi wape. Let me buy chai, I get my title. Let me buy chai, I get my driving license.
And that's the reason why we will never get out of corruption. Anyway, why I was laughing also because when you said now, especially kwa traffic police, there was a report from the Transparency International sometimes back. They are among the leading in terms of taking bribes.
And our sister Sheila Masinde is doing a good job at TI. We give her flowers.
Yeah, so what they did, what I witnessed sometimes back is that kuna sehemu zingine wamebadilisha. Sahi ya wachukui hiyo ilikuwa ni 50 bob.
Yes.
The 50 bob people used to go, police used to go picking, like gari ikipita.
Yes.
Kuna sehemu niliona wanakupea jugu.
Yes.
In exchange you give 100 shillings. Ile jugu una
that's a new one.
Yeah, it's a new, like people are inventing new ways of getting this thing, like so that people don't notice. So I like some road somewhere I noticed, so I was just seated behind the driver, so nikaona tumefika kwa polisi amekuja hapo, amepewa 100.
Yes.
Na akapeana jugu, ile jugu ya 10 bob. So I'm like, oh, this is now how people are doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, so that you don't see them like.
Yes.
So sasa polisi ameuza jugu kwa barabara. Ile jugu ya 10 bob,
yes,
anapewa 100.
Yes.
So you see now, tukitoa cost of the jugu,
yes,
you remain with yours.
Nice.
So somehow, yeah. Yeah. So Alfred, I don't know, what is your submission on that?
I think that is one point where I differ with Kidi on the fight against corruption. Kidi believes that it will be multi-sectoral with political goodwill, but I tend to believe that we have talked for so long, and this is not the first discussion. Even today, you go to Bunge la Mwananchi, where we see people talk about corruption. The other day, somebody was highlighting how a current cabinet secretary was bragging in his local language how he owns 5 planes, yet he only came to power the other day and is untouchable. My point of view is that corruption in each and every sector of this country exists because of grand corruption. Even when CJ Martha Koome is talking about corruption in the judiciary, that clerk has the audacity to take 100 shillings from a mama mboga to locate a file because they know that the presiding judge takes 100,000 to decide on a case. So there is nothing really the registrar at that local level can do to a person who takes 100 shillings and leave the presiding judge who takes 100,000. Same case, even when you go to the higher level, this week I think we've seen a lot of back and forth among Council Harvey trying to petition how Martha Koome cannot appoint a judge to hear a case against her. We've had even cases where some of the Supreme Court judges have been accused of taking bribes in grand corruption, and nothing has been done. When you look at what President Xi Jinping said this week, I think this week has been one of a dark week in China, where a former minister was found guilty of corruption and he has been sentenced to death. And Xi Jinping said that China is growing too fast, but the challenge of economic prosperity of China is corruption. In fact, he said the CPC party, the main challenge of that is preventing China to be the superpower is corruption. What does it mean? That it means that if we entertain grand corruption, there is no way we can say we can fault a traffic officer from picking 100 shillings. But if the traffic officer sees that the Inspector General of Police is facing the law, he is going home because of grand corruption, he will be more cautious even to ask somebody for a bribe. But lastly, because of the culture, you find that when you step into a public office, and you are the three of us here, Kidi, Tricia and I, and you see Kidi behaving in a way that he has enticed a public official to work more harder in courts, you realize the difference. Yes. You are on the queue, you are seeking for the same service. Let's say you've gone to look for a file in court, and Kidi, who came 5 minutes before you, gets his file because he was able to part with 200 shillings. I think that is what even entrenches the corruption more. next time when I come, I don't have to wait to see Kidi coming next. When next time it's like I'm just paying for my file to be looked for. So the culture of corruption has to be fought with grand corruptions being punished heavily, so that the small
fishes
are scared of.
Or is it fish?
The small fish.
Yes, that is my point. That is my take.
Fair enough.
Bro irrigation scheme.
Spoke like the doctor is.
50,000 metric tons of 50,000 acres. Sorry, 50,000 acres of rice and another 50,000 acres of sugar. Then we are also going to move. In fact, very soon we are arranging to move to West Kano. We are also going to move to that is West Ahero, the Ahero irrigation scheme. We are also going to go to Loge Kimira, and we also targeting Lower Kuja. That is for rice production. At the moment, Kenya is still importing well over 700 metric tons, 700,000 metric tons of rice. We want to reduce that, either to eliminate it or reduce it to bare minimum. At most, 10 to 20% of our rice should be imported.
Chain, we have a deficit of 700,000 metric tons, but the State Department, working closely with National Treasury, has come up with a strategy which involves smallholder and large-scale holders. In the smallholder region, we are targeting the Nyanza region and the coastal region, whereby we are targeting to get an additional 200,000 metric tons using our smallholder farmers. Then we also targeting in Bura irrigation scheme to have another 50,000 acres under production, which will give us 300,000 metric tons. So in the next 2 years, we are likely to reduce the 700,000 metric tons by 500,000 metric tons.
And today we are witnessing the beginning of the continuous voter registration. But come November, after
I think we wanted to look at the issue of Galana Kulalu, about this scheme about food production and food security. You've heard what they've said about this project. I just wanted to hear what's your take about that scheme, because it is something that has been there for the longest. Yeah, the plan has always been there for the longest, but we are yet to get there. That project is quite big, but we are yet to get there. What is your view about Galana Kulalu project?
Galana Kulalu is a very impressive idea. It would mirror what we see in Egypt, what we see in Israel, where we are able to convert what we call dry land, irrigate, and have food production. But as you say, it has been for the longest time. And up to date, I think last month, we had the CS Agriculture opening up for the importation of rice. I don't know why, because Galana Kulalu has existed since the first Jubilee administration. So it means there is a good idea being implemented the wrong way. Because with all that investment that has been put up at Galana Kulalu in terms of irrigating maize and rice,
yes,
it should reflect on the shelves in the supermarket.
Yes.
The prices of unga should at least go down. We've not seen a stability in terms of price of rice and price of maize flour. So it means that the talk they are talking may not be necessarily what the results on the ground are showing. Because at the end of the day, a Kenyan does not want to listen to how many metric tons you are putting under irrigations for rice, how you are going to cut down from 7,000 metric tons to 5,000 metric tons. A Kenyan wants, at the end of the day, when I go to buy rice or maize flour, is it cheaper than when I bought it last time? Which I don't think we are to that point. We are at a point whereby the prices of maize and rice are still unstable, depending on how they handle that project, because it really goes a long way in curing the deficit of the two products.
Okay.
Yes.
Kidi.
Galana Kulalu is one of the projects that, if implemented to its logical conclusion, would have massive effect on the ground. I say that because one of the existential threat we face today as a country, Tricia, is what you call broken food systems in the face of rising population. And the broken food systems is not only at the production level. It is that sometimes we produce food and are unable to preserve that food to serve the next season. It is that we are unable to connect the food from the farms to the market. It is that we get the food from the farms to the market and then we suffer what is called the glut. For instance, when we have milk glut and you see farmers pouring milk in the market. So Galana Kulalu, now back to Galana Kulalu, is that part of the problem we had in 2022 during and shortly after the election was the question of the price of unga. You know that a country has got its priorities lopsided when 3 years into an election term, we still have politicians speaking in defense of a government saying that the price of unga has moved from this to that. The former Prime Minister, while taking a swipe at the then Jubilee administration as it was then with Uhuru and Ruto, in 2017 told us that they invested, I think, 2 billion in Galana Kulalu, and out of it they harvested 10 sacks of maize. So I don't know if he meant it or it was a political statement, but it was to underscore what a fantastic failure Galana Kulalu had become when this administration took over. But then we had expected that under handshake we would see an upward swing in the implementation of Galana Kulalu. We didn't see that. Today we are talking about Galana Kulalu, and I think that part of why we must insist that the government need to implement Galana Kulalu is so that we move away from running a supermarket economy where we import maize and maize flour, where we import rice, where we import things we can produce locally. For a long time, we used to call the North Rift region as the food basket of this country. In that area, farmers continue to sink into poverty because at some point we told them that they now need to stop producing maize, they need to go into producing avocado. But then, even as they are producing avocado, we are spending a lot of taxpayers' money importing maize. I believe that we still have a chance to get our priorities right and make sure that we put money in the pocket of our people through the productive sector. Thank you.
Well, I think Kenya without maize, without rice. I'm looking at Alfred. You know where he comes from. Maize is quite important.
They can occupy.
Yes. Because of maize.
Yes.
And actually, not actually kwenu peke yake, everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah. Ugali is just a meal yenye is being taken in every family in this country.
How do you call ugali in your dialect? In your mother tongue?
Sinisima.
Sima.
Yes.
In your
Acha
dialect?
kwenu.
In your dialect? In your dialect?
Busuma.
Busuma. You want to know mine? Say kuon.
Oh yeah, kuon. And my other really is ngima.
Ngima, good.
Yes.
Surprisingly.
Yes.
Surprisingly, I tend to believe that in as much as in the earlier years, people from the western region were being seen as the largest consumers
Yes.
of maize through ugali. I tend to believe even in central Kenya, in the recent homes, I think there is no home that really heavily depends on, let's say, those ngwashe, the ones they used to prepare those days and survive the whole week with sweet or with potatoes. I think it has become the Kenyan way of eating.
Yes.
Yes.
So personally, I cannot go a week without ugali. Kidi, I mean, I can't go for not even a week, 3 days without ugali.
I will tell you one thing. I have never loved my forays out of the country, particularly the forays that take me to the west. Because the moment I get to the 7th day, I start feeling homesick. Because I miss ugali, I miss nyama choma. And yes, that underscores how much the rest of us are accustomed to.
Now,
yes.
That speaks to now. How much is the government investing in the staple food?
Yes.
Of the country.
Yes.
Yes. And how we become vulnerable to other economies when we cannot produce staple food that we have capacity to otherwise produce. Yes.
And but what I feel is maize is one of the easiest. Is one of the easiest crop to grow. Actually, it's in terms of cost, maize haina pesa mingi compared to some other crops.
Even attention. You find something like tomatoes or
they require a lot of attention.
Yes.
They are so costly to produce. So, but for maize, it's something that I remember there was a time. They met together with the Ministry of Agriculture. They used to advise farmers on the best crops to plant, to grow. And especially, remember there was a maize called katumani. Do you remember katumani?
Yes.
Yes, there was this katumani that used to do well in these areas where there is not that much
rainfall.
Well, nowadays I know we are looking at smart technology in terms of agriculture, and that is why they are coming up with different kinds of seedlings to use for growing. But then we are not seeing any equivalent output to whatever we are investing, and that is why now this responsibility of ensuring that this kind of a project where we have that the land is there and the government has all what is required to ensure that that land becomes productive, and they can also supplement what these other farmers are doing so that we ensure that there is food security. I think there is an underlying problem with this project. For the longest time, there is an underlying problem that really needs to be looked into.
And that problem, again, is what you call that. One, we have got land, which is arable. And even when that land is arable, we've said that the problem with agriculture in Kenya is the problem of a reliance on rain-fed agriculture. That then, as part of fixing the broken food systems, we need to move into irrigation agriculture. Galana Kulalu, because of the massive taxpayer spending in Galana Kulalu, it should have been able to address all the problems around mechanized irrigation agriculture to make sure that we can produce enough to take care of our people. The challenges around agriculture, and I was talking to someone who is in big farming, and he was saying that before you break even in agriculture or in agribusiness, you will lose money. Because of the fact that the people of Kenya have been willing to fund Galana Kulalu, we should have seen the implementers taking that project seriously, particularly both for its substantive value and for its symbolic value. Symbolic value to underscore the fact that this is an idea that is scalable. That places like Mandera and Marsabit, particularly Marsabit, are places that we can bring under agriculture. But then the way it appears that we have turned it into a cash cow for certain blue-eyed boys of the system. Shocks conscience, and I wish that the institutions that the what you call the not law enforcement but criminal justice system are able to swing into action, probe competently who is making this project unable to take off, and make sure that if there is culpability, people are held to account. Thank you.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think we have like we have some 32 minutes remaining, and I want us to apportion this time to the remaining topics or stories that we have. We have a story on politics. I mean, we have a story on IEBC registration. We also have a story on politics, just general politics, and we also have a story on health. So let's hear something about IEBC, and I want us to take the least time possible, like 2 minutes each, so that we get to the next.
And today we are witnessing the beginning of the continuous voter registration. But come November, after the by-elections, which will take place on 27th November this year, we shall immediately after the by-elections commence a process of mass voter registration. And in that mass voter registration, that's when we will reach out all the way to the villages and to the wards. So this exercise that begins today will continue until a few months before the general election, when we will close the registration process and then commence a process of auditing the voter register, so that then we clean it up before we publish the final voter register, which will be gazetted, and that is the register that will be used during the 2027 general elections in August the 10th. We have also upgraded our technology to integrate a new biometric voter registration module into the Kenya Integrated Election Management System, which will therefore allow faster, more secure and more reliable services. So the moment we start the registration process, you will see a big improvement in the speed in the speed in which we are registering each of the eligible voters. Looking ahead, ladies and gentlemen, registration centers will continue to be aligned in all the areas of this country in order to prioritize accessibility by the citizens, including persons with disability and persons with special needs. So I am urging you and encouraging you that if you are not registered, this is your chance to register today and make your voice heard tomorrow during the next general election. So by building a credible register, because it's from this registration process that we will have a register. And as IBC, we have to create and establish a credible register. That one, it's non-negotiable. Our register should be credible. Our register should reflect the true number of voters who have registered and who are on the ground. And by doing that, we are safeguarding the integrity of the 2027 general elections. So therefore, let us take responsibility and ensure every eligible Kenyan is registered and stands to be counted and their voices be heard.
I have not yet registered as a voter. The thing is, I'm not sure of who to elect, and the year seems to be a long year. I don't see any future.
Not yet, but lazima tutaregister juu Kasongo lazima tumbandue.
I'm not quite certain about the importance of my vote because, well, as always, we have always been having court cases after the election has been.
So unajua change lazima kuja na vote yangu bosi ama ya hivyo sasa. Kama upige kura, mbona unalalamike sijui ati unanyanyaswa? Mtu anapiga kura ni nafaa lalamike ananyanyaswa. So lazima utafute a good leader, good governorship, hivyo unacheki. Salemo tu bandu jamaa.
Yes, it's very important because I need to change the leadership of this country.
Yeah, it's very important, a crucial one. The reason behind is simply because you see the economy of Kenya. Nowadays, the economy of Kenya it's very expensive compared to the other days.
Well, you've had the voices of the young people. Actually, Radio Generation went to the streets to collect the views of especially the young people. Matters registration for voting for 2027 and these other elections. So our reporter Abdisamad, by the way, went to the streets, and those are the feedbacks that he got from especially the young people about registering as voters. You've also heard from the IEBC chair Ethicon. Umesikia hapo akisema kwamba they are really committed to ensuring credible fairness in the credibility and fairness in the elections that are coming. So I don't know, just in 2 minutes, what's your take about that? Because we have also witnessed that there has been a low uptake response to the registration, the drive of the voter registration. It is like we have noticed it is quite low. Ukiangalia kama Naivasha, ukienda kule pwani, wanasema kwamba people are not really turning out for this drive.
I must tell the young people of Kenya that the future of this country depends squarely on their participation in this exercise. They must turn up and register as voters. But then remember that this is a continuous voter registration exercise. So it is not a one-off exercise. I think it is a wake-up call to various stakeholders, including youth-led initiatives like Interparties Youth Forum, among other entities, to step forward and make sure that we sensitize, not only, and of course the media, sensitize the young people on the need to turn up. The other thing is that it also underscores the underlying problem around the hiring of the commissioners. Remember that it was a long-drawn political battle between different political actors. What that process achieved was to diminish the public confidence in that electoral body, because a lot of young people then felt, maybe even unjustifiably, that the electoral body as constituted is kikapu ya one of the political factions. So then it therefore means that, but I still, from where I sit, I think that we have got a fairly suitable commissioners, starting from chair to other commissioners. I think that some of the allegations that have been raised by other political players that there is proximity do not cut it. So I think that the rest of us, the media and other stakeholders, must step forward and help restore the public confidence or build public confidence in these institutions so that then young people can participate. The third thing is that when people say that young people are not turning out to vote, in my view, is equivalent to giving a dog a bad name before killing it. People appear to want to start bastardizing the participation of young people by saying, oh, Gen Zs are not turning up, or young people are not coming up, as part of the larger strategy to suppress both the voter registration and eventual voter turnout.
The exercise, yes.
The exercise. I think it is something that young people can defeat by making sure that they participate. My final point is about technology. Technology that Tricia should be sustainable. In 2013, we had one problem at the Supreme Court, Fungua server. In 2017, we had one problem at the Supreme Court, Fungua server. In 2022,
Fungua.
It therefore means that people of Kenya have not gotten value for money out of the massive billions we have invested in the technology in these 3 elections. Because we are told that we need to have what is in the KIMS kit, we have got what is called electronic voter identification. But then on the election day, more than 3/4 of those AVID kits are either not working or made not to work. When you come to the transmission of results, you are told that, I don't know, the network in certain areas is not 3G or 4G, and therefore that result has got to be transmitted manually. The question is, why then did we invest so much money in the technology that we cannot therefore... If you look at the Elections Act 2012, envisages that we shall have an election that is not only free, fair and credible, but is also transparent and verifiable. That verifiability is why the people of Kenya have invested in this technology. This technology has let the people of Kenya down. If the EACC was serious, or if the president were to appoint me the head of EACC today, hapo ndio nitaanza nayo kazi. Asante.
Let's hear what Alfred has.
I think Kidi in some way
in 2 minutes
has broadly spoken to what I wanted to speak, but just to pick up on the technology, I agree completely with him on everything, but on the technology, I would wish a situation whereby we invest in technology that speaks to the young people. I think in the era where we are able to do most things using our phones, IEBC should be innovative enough to make registration of voters more digital enabled. In cases where we are having face IDs, we are having fingerprint sensors, and in cases where we already have some of these biometric data being held by our registration bureaus, young people should be able to register as voters using their phones. I think that is why we are having the low or perceived low turnout in these areas, in some areas, because young people do not speak to the current manual way of doing things. But what I want to urge young people is that this should be the last election, and I want to urge you to come out, register and vote. In our registration and in our voting, we shall be able to elect young people who are able to bring forth innovative ideas, so that some of these systemic challenges we're experiencing, the ones Kidi has said, you're investing 8 billion to register 6.8 million Kenyans, yet at the time of elections, we have to use the manual system. Then why are you spending 8 billion, for God's sake?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, I want young people to give it a final shot. Let us persevere with the system, register the manual way, vote the manual way, whichever, elect leaders who are able to speak to the current trends and the current generation of the times.
That's fair enough. Well, this week also we've had a lot happening in the political scene, and we have the united oppositions, the opposition, that is this dispute about and accusations of betrayal and so forth. We heard what Malala told Kioni, about being a mall in the united opposition. Yes, being a mall. Yeah, he has been accused of being a mall. Still in the united opposition, of course, we saw former CJ Maraga also. At least he revealed the party that he shall be going with, that is for the 2027 election. So let's hear what Malala was saying, before we get to Maraga.
Wakina Kioni ambao wanatumwa kukuja kuleta fujo katika United Opposition. Ningependa kuambia Kioni, kama wewe uko kwa United Opposition na uwezi sema one term, wewe ni mall. So kabla mtu yote akuja aseme yeye anapinga serikali, unamwambia kwanza aseme nini? One term. Sasa wewe Kioni, enda kwanza useme one term, ndio tujue wewe sio mtu wa Ruto. Anaanza kusema ati Rigathi ni mtu wa William Ruto. Rigiji anaweza kaa na William Ruto kweli? Haezi.
These politics are so interesting anyway. Umesikia vile anaambiwa?
Yes.
For you to prove that you are not with the current administration.
Yes.
Lazima useme one term.
Yes.
What do you take out of that?
Well, one, politicians can be duplicitous.
Mhm.
I want our listeners to remember that in 2013, Honorable Kioni was supposedly the running mate of what was called, what was the name of that? UDF, Amani Coalition, under Amani Coalition. He was the running mate. But even in his polling station, the presidential candidate under the Amani Coalition did not get even a single vote. So it means that even himself and the spouse and his immediate family voted elsewhere.
Okay.
I say that to underscore the duplicity of the political class.
Mhm.
And then that brings me to the second point, that in saving this country, remember that the momentum for change that we are talking about in this country was started by young people, especially at a time when the political class had been co-opted. Some of us in 2023 were saying that we have come from the election. Let the key protagonists in 2022 election engage directly through quiet, direct diplomacy so that they de-escalate the tension. The tension we saw in 2023 then proved that it was part of the brinkmanship for the politicians to negotiate on who gets what. So by the time the Gen Z protest was happening in 2024, it caught all the political class flat-footed. Those who had not been accommodated then pretended to side with the Gen Z, but we know that they're only siding with the Gen Z to up their political bargain and then cash it.
Okay.
So I say this to underscore this fact, that there is a program that Makotsi, myself, and other young people are engaged in called Manifesto Yetu, where the young people themselves are now saying that how do we get into 2027 and what change are we seeking to achieve? I think we must sustain and strengthen such voices to make sure that then we do not become pawns in the hands of the political class who are seeking to pretend to identify with young people, to attend to be abusing this faction or that faction, but in the spirit of raising their political premiums, then go and cash it to the highest bidder. Thank you.
Okay.
I think my take is that I can't agree more with the former SG Senator Malala on what he said about Kioni. I think if there is one manifesto that the current opposition has, and one unity call, is anybody that speaks the term one term. But if you listen to Kioni very well, he is on the fence of trying to counter former Deputy President Rigath's influence in Central, and trying to actually court a political marriage with the current administration. By him not coming out clearly and saying that this regime should go with all that it has done, it means that at some point he is willing to negotiate with the current government just in case his candidate is not picked as the presidential candidate of the united opposition. So at the end of the day, we as the opposition, we can disagree on the candidate, we can disagree on the different tenets in the manifesto and the implementation of it, but one thing we should not disagree is saying the term one term. And simply Kioni could reply. I think he was on a station on Monday or Tuesday morning. I didn't hear him come out clearly and reaffirm his position as a person who is in the current opposition. As far as I'm concerned, they went further and revived something called Azimio. Yet at the same time, Kalonzo, Martha Karua wrote actually officially and pulled out of even DAPK pulled out of Azimio. So how is it that Jubilee is the only party that is now in Azimio?
In Azimio.
It leaves more question than answers.
Well, I tend to believe maybe Kioni may not be a mole. Okay, that is my opinion. Msinipige mawe. May not be a mole, but it's just that the ambitions that he has, and the person that he would want to support, maybe feels like does not fit in the united opposition.
Yes.
Like, given a chance, I think he feels like the candidate that he wants to support may not have a chance when now the united opposition sits down and tries to, because of course they want to come with one, they say they want to come up with one person going for the seat. So I feel like there is he is afraid.
But let me, I can't agree more at some point, but Kioni should look at the greater picture. In 2001, when the whole opposition was towards yote yawezekana bila Moi, I think Kibaki and Wamala were the least favorite. They used to be with Ngilu at Serena, and they used to behave the same way the united opposition is behaving right now. They used to come, hold a press conference, drink tea, and go home.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, they look undeserving, but they were the ultimate ticket that took Kanu regime home. Jeremiah Kioni should focus on marketing his candidate and stop fighting the other presidential candidates in the opposition. I think that would serve the greater good in the opposition.
Okay, thank you. Let's hear what. Okay, I want us to pick something from this former CJ Maraga about. Said that he want to base his leadership is, if elected, on constitutionalism, which I feel like it's something that has been something each and every person has really been complaining about, the running and the governance in this country, that we are not keen about the constitution of our country. Yeah, we are not keen about how we are running the country. Most of the time, we have not been looking into the constitution. We are not been basing our leadership and governance on the constitution. So I want us to look at that, and also look at Kalonzo Musyoka, who is being wood to get into the government, because they feel like Ukambani is missing out big time because their leader,
yes,
yeah, is not in government for the longest time. Yeah. So let's just have a listen to this as we continue.
The image of this party to another level. We are going to deal squarely with the issue of corruption that has us and terribly ruined this country. We are going to give the necessary political will to fight it. We believe in teamwork, but we work with people who share our ideologies. Those who share our ideologies, we have two major issues to deal with: constitutionalism and the rule of law.
Najutambulikana kama mwenye kuongoza programs za serikali hapa Ukambani, lakini na yeye pia kuna nafasi yake ambaye amewahi kuwa hata deputy president, na ni lazima nimuulize kwa heshima, tukaribiane. We want to work with you. Hatutaki wewe upotee kwa wale watu wa Sutikombo. Hao watu hawatujali. Walipita hii barabara hii hata wakapigwa na dust mingi sana wakija kwako, lakini mabarabara zao kama yule Sutikombo sasa zote ziko na tamak. Yule yako na maji kila kijiji, na wewe hauna, watu wetu hawana. Na kwa hivyo lazima tujue wale ambao watu wanakuja kutuchochea, wao wako na nafasi ya maendeleo wamefanyiwa, na sisi bado hatujafanyiwa yale maendeleo. Na tukikaa nje ya serikali, wao wataendelea kubaki wako na mabarabara, wako na maji, na sisi.
Wow. I don't know what we need to add about what they are saying, because I'm looking. We have 9 minutes. Unasemaje?
Let me first yield the floor to my good Daktari.
Two issues. First, Maraga issue. I think Maraga was unveiled by I think party leader Agostino Neto as the flag bearer of Green Party. Maraga should. He's a good candidate. He represents what we as young people speak to, politics that actually have some ethics in it, and issues of constitutionalism, issues of rule of law. But he should not speak this language in isolation. I think when he gangs up in a corner somewhere and speaks to himself and speaks to a few people, he may not be able to get very far. I've not seen a deliberate attempt by him to woo the young people who are disenfranchised in the current political times to his political movement. We have not seen his political star rising, and somehow we might be tempted to tell him that let him join the united opposition. But he needs to do more in terms of wooing the Kenyans who believe in the tenets of constitutionalism and rule of law that he actually practiced and believe in. Secondly, on the issue of Ukambani and Kalonzo, I think it is political rhetoric when I think you played the clip of Honorable Kawaya when he was urging him to join government. Honorable Kawaya was elected on a UDA ticket. We have Governor Mutua, who is a CS and comes from Ukambani, and so very many other leaders in UDA. Yet, even in them supporting the government, we are not seeing anything meaningful they have brought to their people. So, on a second note, even the people of Western, where I come from, Wetangula, they call him the third in command. Musalia Mudavadi, they call him the prime cabinet secretary. Yet our industries, Nzoia Sugar, Mumias Sugar, are still gripping. Our roads, C41, for the longest time since Honorable Ruto was deputy president, is now president. We've not seen tarmac on that road. We are only seeing him coming, like today he went to PAG annual general meeting. We are not seeing any meaningful development as a result of our person, in quotes, being in government. So what does it mean? It means even if Kalonzo joins this current government, if it does not have the intention to implement projects in his region, then they will not be implemented. But also on the broader picture, the people of Machakos, Kitui, and Makueni are taxpayers of this country.
Sure.
It does not mean that when Kalonzo with his Wiper party is in the united opposition, they don't deserve development projects in their region. I think it is very unfair to leverage or to dangle development and use it in political discussions. I think that's my take.
Dada Pat.
Yes, please.
Tukubaliane kwamba you cannot get out of a problem with the same if you have the same mentality that created that very problem.
True.
The problem in Ukambani is lack of water, what you call potable water. It is lack of opportunity for young people. It is lack of investment in productive sector. Of course, those problems are cross-cutting. They are the problem in Luo Nyanza. They are problem in Western Kenya, where my brother, Daktari Makotsi, come from. They are the problems that young people of this generation are ready to confront. I think that the calls to have Kalonzo, people calling for Vice President Kalonzo to join government, are having a very short memory, because they are forgetting that in late 80s, Kalonzo was deputy speaker. In the 90s, he was a blue-eyed boy of the system as minister. If in those times there was nothing much that Kalonzo, together with his mentor Mulumutisia, did to change the lives of people of Ukambani, they were still having the problems of water. They were still having some of these problems, but in a more magnified scale than now. I think that brand of politics is outdated. Its best place is the 20th century. Today, when we are talking about Internet of Things, I think we must reimagine a new politics. And in reimagining a new politics, we must come to a place where we are now talking about politics of not only the cake, but then, or the size of the cake, but then how is this cake being baked? Because when we speak about how we are baking the cake, we will say that what is the potential of Ukambani? and what is the comparative and competitive advantage that Ukambani area has over other areas. What investment should we put there as a government or as a country to make sure that we get high returns on investment? That way, then we figure out that Ukambani have got capacity to produce fruits, so then we ensure that within the what you call African Free Trade Area, we make sure that we peleka juice in that market from one end to the other, making sure that, and again, we've got a bit of advantage. Nairobi is a financial hub. We've got fairly advanced technology. The road network is good. That is what will save this country.
Okay.
As I conclude, the politics of mtu wetu asonge karibu na meza akule is the politics that has brought us here. It is the politics our generation must help end. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that is fair enough. Well, a lot has really happened in the course of this week. And we've not been able to discuss a few of the things that you are supposed to discuss. Like we have seen the issue of there was a story about privatization of the Kenya Pipeline Company.
Yes.
Yeah, we are not going to discuss about it. Yeah, there is also a story about, you need to understand that the government approved to sell up to 65% of its stake. Yeah, but of course MPs came out and they insisting of 35%. There is also this meeting that is supposed, the 24th COMESA,
yeah.
Yes, summit which is supposed to take place in Nairobi.
And I hear His Excellency is supposed to be the next chair of COMESA.
Yeah, we wish him all the best. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to the Generation Report. It has been awesome. At least we have discussed so many things here, and we believe to each and every person this message or this conversation was targeted to. Please take your responsibility. Yeah, kwa wale ambao, if you're in the government, please, you know what you're supposed to correct. We as citizens, we also know where we are supposed to correct. The young people, you know, nendeni mchukue ID. It's quite important.